and send you live now.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tom and I'm one of the Assistant Education Managers here at ChildNet, and it's brilliant to be hosting this webinar to support you as teachers and educators. This is a second webinar in a series that we're hosting over the next few months. I'm also joined by my colleague Linz, who is one of our Senior Education Project Officers, and you'll be hearing more from her in just a moment. Now, we are well placed to talk about this topic because we were both teachers, Lynn's working in primary and I worked in secondary. We are also both parents and have children in primary and secondary school. So we have experience of being the ones delivering and receiving these messages. We know a lot about the challenges that schools face in reaching parents and carers, but we also know some of the challenges that those parents and carers face too. So let's start with a brief introduction to who we are at ChildNet and what we do. We are an online safety charity whose main aim is to make the internet a great and safe space for all children and young people. We do this in a number of ways. The ChildNet education team that Linz and I are part of create free educational resources and travel to schools around the country, working directly with children aged 3 to 18 years old, parents, carers and professionals like yourselves, delivering online safety sessions. ChildNet also works with the government and the internet industry to encourage and advise them in how they can work to help young people keep young people safe online as well. We are also part of the UK Safer Internet Centre. This is a partnership between 3 leading online safety organisations, ourselves, the Internet Watch Foundation and SWGFL. Through the partnership, we offer a whole host of resources, services and events like this webinar. We also coordinate Safer Internet Day here in the UK. Okay, I think that's probably enough of an introduction now, so let's get started. Although I'll also take this moment to let you know that the Q&A feature is open and will be online for 15 minutes at the end of today's 30-minute session to answer any additional questions you may have. So please do submit your questions there. All right, for now, I'm going to hand over to Linz, who is going to explain what we'll be covering today and talking you through the first section.
Thank you, Tom. So here we have an overview of our session today. The focus of today's webinar is engaging parents and carers in online safety, and we're going to break this down into different sections to explore in more detail what that means and how it can be done. So we will start by looking at the whole school approach and why developing a positive home-school relationship is so important when it comes to online safety. We will then focus on how you communicate with parents and carers. And finally, we'll look at what the barriers might be that prevent parents and carers from fully engaging with the subject. We'll then follow this by looking at different methods of engagement to help address and overcome these obstacles. Finally, we'll share some useful resources and websites with you and recap the key messages from today's webinar. So let's begin by looking at the whole school approach to online safety and why a really strong two-way relationship between the school and the parent and carer community is so beneficial. Firstly, we will start with you. So what's really important is recognizing the vital role that you as teachers play when it comes to online safety and your unique ability to connect your pupils' home experiences with their in-school education and care. Whether it's in the lessons that you might be teaching or lessons that other staff members teach, or even just through conversations that you have or you overhear between pupils, you'll discover things about your students' lives online that their parents might not know yet or haven't discussed with them. So enabling your pupils to talk about their lives online and their use of technology will not only help to inform your teaching, but also help inform the information that you share with parents and carers too. And as educators, you are perfectly placed to shape the online safety narrative that you want parents and carers to reinforce at home. So in your online safety teaching, you can model the importance of celebrating the many positives of going online, how effective it is to take a balanced approach when discussing the internet and technology with children and young people, and the importance of creating a safe space to talk about life online, free from judgment or criticism. And these are key messages that you can then share with your parent and carer community. Over to the parents now. So it's also really important to celebrate the role that parents and carers play in the wider school community. They are the ones who are, hopefully, reinforcing and supporting the messaging that the children receive in school, in their own home environments. While the relationship may feel slightly one-sided sometimes if they're not as engaged as you might hope, if you can continue to provide regular opportunities for them to be involved and be as creative as possible in the way that the information is communicated, you'll be demonstrating that their input is important and something that you really value. And online safety is absolutely a subject that parents and carers want and need help with, regardless of their age and levels of technology use, because the way that their children are using the internet will always be different from theirs. We just know that for a range of reasons, it can be hard to grab their attention initially and hook them in when they're already so busy. So this is why we'll be giving you a whole host of ideas that you can put into place so that the information is disseminated little and often with the hope that something sticks. So we're going to start by looking at communication between parents and carers and yourselves and how you keep those lines open and accessible so that it's really effective and works both ways. Now, the answer to how you do this might depend on the logistics within your school setting, whether or not you are a primary school or a secondary school, and the type of needs that your pupils have. However, there are some solutions that are universal and can be applied to any setting. So the first point is clarity. If a parent or carer has any online safety issues they want to discuss, then they need to know exactly how to go about communicating with you. They may be in some distress, depending on what has happened, so the more straightforward the process is, the better. For example, if you're a primary school, do your pupils have contact books that are sent home for parents and carers to write messages in? Or are they able to email the class teacher directly, for example? If an email is sent, is there an automated response that lets parents and carers know the operating hours in which that email address is checked? And are they given a likely response time too? For secondary schools, do they email or call the school office to make an appointment, or is there a designated member of staff or a pastoral department that should be contacted when it comes to online safety? Conversely, if you need to contact a parent or carer about something related to life online, are there set procedures that you have to follow? And are the parents and carers aware of the ways in which you might contact them? So whatever the process is, it just needs to be transparent and explained to parents and carers in a way that they can all access and understand. And the second point to consider is the ethos of your communications. So just like in the online safety lessons that you have in school, where you have set procedures in place to help create a safe and non-judgmental space for conversation, try to ask yourself, does this extend to your parent and carer community too? Online safety issues can be hard to talk about sometimes and can cover some really sensitive topics. And it can be just as difficult for adults to open up as it can be for children, even more so for adults sometimes, as the relationship that they have with you is obviously different and they're slightly further removed from how well you know their children. So it's really important to have a think about ways to create that welcoming, approachable, accessible environment for parents and carers that you do speak to. If they're coming to you with a problem, or even vice versa, they may be feeling anxious or nervous, and so the more that you can do to allay any fears, the safer they'll feel communicating with you. Even if your initial contact is just a phone call and not face-to-face, it's the ethos and tone that matters. So we're going to look at the barriers now that parents and carers might face when engaging with online safety. We all know that reaching parents and carers can be tricky, and that can be for many reasons. And often the parents that are the hardest to reach are the ones that you most want to engage with and support. So we'll take a brief look here at the reasons for this, and then the following sections will give you different strategies to help address these barriers. So the number one reason is usually time. Parents and carers are incredibly busy. There's work, siblings, clubs, appointments, and just 100 different places that they need to be, often all at once. In terms of their needs, some parents and carers might have additional needs that may be more challenging to meet or that you might even be unaware of. For example, there may be those for whom English is an additional language, so translated material would be preferable, or those who need a BSL interpreter. For some, there may be issues relating to their emotional or mental health, which prevent them from being as involved as they would like to be, or those who had perhaps negative experiences of school themselves and are therefore less engaged as a result. Others may have physical needs that make attending events difficult, and not all needs will be obvious, which is another key reason for doing all that you can so that parents and carers feel able to be open and honest about their home situations. And when it comes to online safety specifically, parents and carers' personal beliefs might come into play. So on the one hand, they might feel overwhelmed by the subject if it's not something they've ever really had to think about before. Or on the flip side, they might feel that they have enough knowledge already, having grown up with it themselves. They may believe that it's not relevant, perhaps to the age of their child at that time, or they may be unsure of the relevance if their child has additional SEND needs, for example. Cultural differences within the school community might also influence parents and carers' views and attitudes towards technology and what they feel is appropriate for their children. So as you can see, there are lots of factors at play here when it comes to the difficulties that parents and carers might be experiencing. However, I'm going to hand you back over to Tom now, who will talk through the different methods of engagement that we're going to share with you today and give you plenty of practical ideas and tips to help you address these barriers.
Thank you, Linz. So keeping the previous section in mind, we are now going to take you through some different ways to engage parents and carers. We do not expect you to do all of them. We want to give you a broad range of strategies that you can pick from and hope that you can take away at least 5 that you think will work well in your setting. We have divided the approaches into 4 categories. So pupil-led, where the children and young people are delivering the messages, and they might even be the ones who plan, create and organise it all too. Adult-led, this is where staff are delivering the messages. So what tips do we have for you here? Social media, this is thinking about ways to use the school social media to get those key messages out. And finally, the school website, looking how to present information and make it as accessible as possible for parents and carers. Now let's look at these categories in more detail. Involving young people in the planning and delivering of online safety messages can be very effective because they are the experts in the online world and on the things they are seeing and experiencing. Parents and carers are also keen to hear directly from children and young people, especially their children. Now, utilising peer-to-peer education programmes like the ChildNet Digital Leaders Programme can be a powerful tool for encouraging learners to share important online safety advice. This programme provides ChildNet Digital Leaders with interactive online modules and activities, equipping them with the skills and knowledge necessary to navigate the online world safely and support other young people and your wider school community, including parents and carers, in doing the same. Could you or another teacher lead this programme in your school or set up your own group of pupils to be online safety experts? Now, we appreciate that it can be difficult to persuade busy parents to come into school for some of the reasons that Lynn's highlighted, but special events are a great way to do this. Safer Internet Day is our big event and a great opportunity to engage parents and carers. It will be held on Tuesday the 6th of February 2024 and is usually the first Tuesday in February every year. Last year, we reached over half of pupils in the UK, and there are resources for schools as well as parents and carers. This is a great opportunity to have a pupil-led activity, such as an internet cafe, or to share useful resources with parents and carers through the school newsletter, website, or social media. For primary schools, why not use Safer Internet Day to have a pupil-led assembly at drop-off and use this opportunity to talk to parents and carers about the theme or a topic that is particularly relevant to your school, such as gaming or parental controls. For secondary schools, it could be a pupil-led session on influencers or emerging technology like AI or virtual reality. Now, we know schools have run internet cafes and they sometimes do those on Safer Internet Day too. These are not like the internet cafes you might remember, but in this cafe, the children and young people are there to help parents and carers. They might demonstrate a safe search engine like Swiggle or how to play a game. They could talk through how they stay safe online. For older pupils, it could be a session on how they spot unreliable information or the positive and negative aspects of social media. We would recommend running those cafes termly. It's certainly worth running more than one to see how it goes, to adapt and to also allow word of mouth to encourage more parents and carers to attend. There are also other opportunities to reach parents and carers directly, such as open mornings or evenings. Could a group of pupils lead a short talk about how to stay safe online? A staff member could then talk about when to come to the school for help. If parents are having a tour and reach in the computer room or rooms, draw their attention to displays showing the work of the pupils around online safety, and even better, have pupils there to talk it through. Could your pupils run or hand out a quiz? You could even run a quiz with parents and carers versus pupils, but you would have to make sure that the pupils who made the quiz were not the ones competing. We know some schools require all students to have a device or even lease them to families, so before or when these are being given out would be a good time to reach parents and carers too. Now we're going to look at other ways for pupils to lead in making online safety information engaging for parents and carers. So could there be an online safety section in the school newsletter or school website that pupils could write themselves? Could you have a group of pupils who take on this responsibility? We also know how effective videos can be and how time poor parents and carers can be. So could you work with pupils to record and create your own online safety films? Consider who might be best placed on your staff. Is there someone who loves video editing and can produce quality content? Okay, it's back over to Linz now to talk you through adult-led ideas.
Thank you very much, Tom. So our next section is going to focus on the adult-led activities that will help to engage parents and carers, specifically online safety talks and how to make these as successful as possible. Now, when I say online safety talks, these could be delivered in-house by your own staff members, for example, by your computing or safeguarding lead, or you could invite in external speakers such as us, for example. Our school visits programme has been running for many years, and as a result, we've compiled a list of 10 top tips based on the different things that can be most effective for getting parents and carers through the door. So the first is experiment with timings. It can be really hard to find the right time to host information sessions in any subject, especially when lots of subjects may be planning on putting on their own talks or events, so you're always competing for time. What you could do is speak to other departments or other staff members too, and see which times of day have yielded the best turnout when they've hosted talks. Another option is to send a survey to parents in advance to find out their preferences and go from there. The second option is providing some sort of childcare. So if you can offer a way for children and siblings to be looked after during an after-school online safety session, for example, another staff member puts on a film in a classroom, this can really help parents to attend. Our third tip is ensure accessibility. So if you do have parents or carers within your school community for whom English is an additional language, or parents and carers from the deaf community, then providing an interpreter throughout or a written translation of the key information afterwards can be a brilliant way to help ensure that these parents can attend. You might not even have to pay for an interpreter if you have other helpful parents or staff who are able to help with translating or signing, for example. Number 4, incentivize the adults. Food and wine works wonders, because who doesn't love free refreshments? But in all seriousness, making an evening of it can really help. So not only could you entice parents to attend with refreshments, you could even have something like a raffle with prizes, or combine it with another event happening that evening, like a prize giving or something like that. Basically, the more social the event can be, the better. Number 5, incentivize the pupils. So some schools we know have offered a treat type reward to the class that gets the most parental sign-ups. Or on a practical note, you could get your pupils to write a letter to their parents or to record video messages inviting them to attend the online safety session. We know that's a format that has worked wonders too in some schools. Number 6, share information that directly relates to their children. So it can be really helpful to show parents and carers how online safety is directly relevant to them and their family. So some schools have found that surveying the children about their internet use and then sharing these results with the parents and carers in advance of the session can be a really helpful hook to get the parents interested. You could also poll the parents too and compare these results to the data that's come from the children. Lots of social media platforms have poll functions that encourage quick and easy feedback, which is simple to use. Number 7, team up locally. So if you're a small school, to spread costs and to ensure a good turnout, an excellent idea is to team up with local schools in the area and open up the parent session to all. So when I first joined ChildNet, we did a 2-week road trip to Rayleigh in Essex. We spoke to 25 primary schools over the 10 days, but then the 4 local secondary schools each had a parents' evening within that fortnight that parents from any primary or secondary school could attend, and that worked brilliantly. Number 8, share the information afterwards. So if you are able to provide a recording of the online safety sessions that you've run so that parents and carers who weren't able to come can catch up, then that's really helpful. Sometimes it's not always possible to record a session if it's being delivered by external speakers, for example, because of the copyright. But you could also share notes instead, or a summary of what was covered, or any links to websites and useful information. What you could do is run our staff-led online safety parents evening presentation and then share a recording of that afterwards. Number 9, make the most of Safer Internet Day. So as Tom mentioned, the UK Safer Internet Centre organises Safer Internet Day every year, and we always provide free educational packs each year for you to use. These always include resources for parents and carers and ideas for how to get them involved in your Safer Internet Day activities. And finally, advertise. So you might have screens around the school to display online safety messages, particularly in communal areas where parents may frequent. That's a nice, simple way to share advice, and also to advertise the date of any online safety sessions that might be upcoming. The best advertising method, though, is definitely your own pupils. If parents and carers hear directly from them how important the subject is, how excited they are by the internet, and how they really want their family to be involved, then they are much more likely to prioritise their attendance at any event that you run. So hopefully this has given you some food for thought, and I shall hand back over to Tom now for the next section.
So thank you, Linz. I'm going to now talk you through ways to use social media, and some of these tips link nicely with the pupil-led ideas I talked through previously. These are all things that your pupils can help you with to make it more manageable and keep it relevant. There are lots of great newsletters that you can sign up to stay up to date with online safety too. We have a newsletter at ChildNet you can subscribe to, and an online safety calendar you can find on our website. There are also newsletters from other charities and newspapers that can be really helpful. Doing this will help you to learn about current issues, and remember you have pupils to help, write or check in with as well. As a general rule, little and often is a good way to work. It allows you to stay current and relevant. You can use it to reinforce what you are covering in school, and is more digestible for parents and carers. So how about an online safety tip of the week or month shared on your school social media, covering an aspect from the news or that the pupils have been talking about? Make sure you have enough content so that you don't run out. So plan the time frame, and you can always push things back if something new emerges. For younger children, share online safety or friendship themed books for reading time at home. We have the DigiDuck series, Smarty the Penguin stories, and a learning to read book that can be read through our website. Look for ebooks and audiobooks that are free for families. You can also use social media to promote your newsletter and any blogs or articles about online safety. And if you are able to make a short online safety film or films, share them regularly on your school social media. Okay, we know that the school website may not be the most engaging place for parents and carers, but it is a site that they know, can easily find, and where you can point them to for help and information. So what can you put on there for parents and carers? Well, we would recommend having an online safety section. You could share tips from pupils and articles they write. You can make online safety curriculum maps available on the website to show what you are covering with each year group. You can include useful websites like ours and organisations like Internet Matters, who have step-by-step guides on how to put parental controls on devices, apps and the home Wi-Fi. It's also a good idea to put on reporting sites. CEOP are part of the police and are there to respond to incidents of grooming that occur online. You can also put your relevant policies up there, so parents and carers can also see how the school manages online safety. So examples to include are your online safety policy, acceptable use of technology policy, safeguarding policy, anti-bullying policy. And do make sure that these policies are regularly reviewed and then shared with parents and carers, ideally in language that is accessible. A reading age of 7 is recommended, and it's also great to have translated versions to suit your school community. I'm now going to talk you through some useful resources to share with parents and carers. So here is the parents and carers section of our website. If you go to childnet.com, you will see a tab for professionals, that is for you, and there's also a tab for parents and carers. This has a help and advice section where they will find pages on a variety of topics such as gaming and social media. There's also help on conversations. Our big message for parents and carers to have an open dialogue with their children about the internet, to know what they're doing and seeing online. And you can steer individual parents and carers here, or you could put this in as one of the recommended websites or links on the school website. A key resource we have is the Parents and Carers Toolkit. This is 3 individual resources that can also be downloaded as well. So first is the resource sheet. This has lots of useful websites and links. You could look through this and pick out the ones most relevant in your setting and share those on the school website, or send them out in those monthly tips on social media. Among the useful websites on here is Internet Matters that I mentioned earlier, the site that offers step-by-step guides to putting parental controls onto devices, streaming platforms like Netflix and Prime, as well as the home Wi-Fi. This is a website that has lots of parents making notes when we present to them. It also includes our family agreement that helps families manage their technology use at home through discussion questions with examples of possible pledges for a range of ages. And finally, we have the Let's Talk About Life online booklet. As it sounds, this has lots of conversation starters and information to help parents have that open dialogue with their children about life online. Another useful resource not on the screen is the ChildNet online safety calendar that I mentioned earlier. This is for professionals, but gives you a few ideas every month that you could implement and use to schedule those monthly tips on the school's social media. Okay, I'm now going to hand back over to Linz.
Excellent, thank you, Tom. So we're going to take a quick look now at some of the most useful resources on the UK Safer Internet Centre website for engaging parents and carers. So if you go to saferinternet.org.uk, you then click Guides and Resources and choose Parents and Carers, and you'll find a whole host of things there. So one resource within that section is our social media guides, and these cover all the most popular apps that young people are likely to be using. We keep this page up to date as new apps come and go. They all contain information about the age requirements, safety tools and advice, and also how to make reports within each specific service. And there's also downloadable mini guides too. Also within the Parents Carers section, you'll find the Parents Guide to Technology, which contains extensive information about a whole range of technologies, as you can see on the presentation there, provides top tips, frequently asked questions, and key safety advice to consider. So we're nearly there. We're just going to quickly recap the key messages from today. So the first was the importance of an open, regular dialogue with clear lines of communication that are understood by all sides. A safe, non-judgmental space is equally as important for parents and carers as it is for your pupils. Try to understand the barriers that are specific to your parent and carer communities and do your best to try and find solutions to mitigate these. A little and often approach works really well when it comes to sharing information with parents and carers. Sending things out in small doses can be more effective and definitely less overwhelming. Polling your parents and carers and pupils to find out the issues that are most important to them is a great way to entice attendees to parents and carer sessions when they can really see the relevance of the information and how it directly relates to them. And finally, utilising youth voice. So get your pupils involved as much as possible. If parents and carers hear about the importance of online safety directly from their own children, they are definitely much more likely to get involved. And I shall pass back over to Tom finally to conclude our webinar. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Linz. So we've now reached the end of the presentation section of this webinar, but we do have time for questions. So we'll just take a look and see if any of those have come in. I'm going to ask my colleague Amy, who's been doing a fantastic job of monitoring the Q&As, to also share a link to a very brief evaluation survey. It won't take more than 30 seconds or so, so please do fill that out now to help us inform our future work. If you think of a question later or are watching the recording, then you can email us at education@childnet.com. So, OK, let's have a look and see if we have had any questions, and I will stop sharing as well. OK, I can't see any questions at the moment, so I don't know. We'll give it a few minutes and see if any come in as we're waiting.
Amy has done a fantastic job of sharing all sorts of useful links to websites and resources as well, including the online safety calendar that we didn't have a screenshot for. So that's cool.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, and remember, if you have any more questions that might come up, please do email education@childnet.com. And I think we're going to end it there. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you. Bye.